Good day and welcome to Lean Class. Today's topics, we're going to go over the 5 coaching kata questions introduced by Mike Rother in his work. And then we're going to discuss and practice practical ways to implement check sheets, Pareto charts, and cause and effect diagram charts. We can use some of these slides by Creative Commons license. So let's begin. Adopting new ways to do things is a very difficult thing to do. Creating new habits, creating new routines are quite challenging and can only be done over time. This is one of the reasons why our senior management has decided to do a 3-year lean transformation plan, because you don't go out and run 20 miles the first time you're practicing for a marathon. You start slow. And that's why some of the routines that we're going to talk about today, which primarily revolve around scientific thinking or a new way of thinking, talks about the importance to practice this routine. Scientific thinking, coupled with deliberate practice, creates some skills that are unseen to the naked eye. So let's start with the first question, right? What are some of the unseen managerial routines that people are going through as they go through their continuous improvement process thinking? Let's go over the 4 steps of the improvement kata. When you look at the improvement kata, you look at step number 1, get the direction or challenge. What is the final area? What is the final direction? What is the final outcome of what we're trying to do? You can apply that type of thinking to anything, to a meeting, to an initiative, even to a project. When you walk in and you ask yourself, what is the final direction? What is the challenge? What are we actually trying to do? Which you couple immediately afterwards with what is the current condition. Some people call this the to be and the as is. Some other people call it the as is to be methodology. In other words, where are we headed eventually, and what is the current condition of where we're at today? Let's say, for example, that the challenge is to transform our organization into a lean organization, into a thinking organization, into an organization that believes in learning and continuous improvement. Well, how do we get there? Well, we need to grasp the current situation. And in grasping the current situation, we know that we are at the foundational step. We're beginning to begin. So what happens is that we have to establish some target conditions. In other words, in PMI, they might call them milestones. Project managers may call them the next step, the next milestone. In Agile, we see it as a set of sprints that we set for ourselves. And furthermore, in Agile, we may think of the direction or the challenge as an epic. So for those of you that are familiar with PMI, PMP, and those of you that are familiar with Agile, you follow what I'm saying. We first set a direction or an overall challenge. We want to become a lean transformational organization, a learning organization in 3 years. And then you need to understand the current situation. We're on step 1 of 1. And then you need to establish a next target condition, a milestone, something that's measurable, that says we've done this. And maybe the next target condition is, well, we're going to set into practice that we learn every single month. It becomes part of our DNA, part of our organization. We're a learning organization. We learn. So we want to put a program in place that allows us to learn 9 months out of the year. Of course, we want to take 3 months to refresh ourselves, to be able to do other things with that time. In between the current condition and the target condition, we have gaps. So The final direction may be a lean organization. The current condition, we're in step 1 of 1. The next target condition is we want to be able to have a program where we go to learning every single month. So we want to conduct some experiments. So one experiment could be, let's plan a workshop and see how that goes. We might want to go ahead and plan it and do it and then ask ourselves, how did the workshop go? That's PDC, we're checking, or PDS, we're studying. And then we may adjust PDCA, PDSA, and adjust because we learned some things from the experiments that worked well and some things that didn't go work well. So what do we need to do? We need to set the next target condition. Something that we don't want to do is become the waste police, right? Improvements based on eliminating waste. Because if we say to ourselves, oh, getting a contract through the process takes too long, that's waste. Ordering a computer that's not standard takes too long, that's waste. Then we become the waste police. We flail our arms up in the air and we start judgment and pointing and seeing waste everywhere. And really, there's a much better way to look at this. What you want to do is you want to look at the entire value stream. You want to look at the entire problem, and you create teams amongst yourselves, cross-functional teams and managers and workers working together so that you can understand what the final direction is. Perhaps we want to be able to order computers that are not standard and have it take 2 weeks. And we understand the current situation and we need to set a target. Well, maybe the target is we need to understand what we could do to cut some time off of that. And along the way, we're going to see waste along the value stream. And as we eliminate that waste, that helps us get to the next target condition. But most of us, me included, we jump right into the problem. We say to ourselves, we need to come up with a solution because we know the overall direction. And somebody said, hey, we need to create some KPIs for telecommuting. It's like, yeah, I know the overall direction. I need to create KPIs for the overall telecommuting program, and right now we don't have any. So let's make a plan, write it down, let's go. And it's really not quite that simple. Because if you look at the exercise on the board, right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, what's the next number? You might be tempted to say 14. And we really don't know. It could be 2. The series could repeat itself. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So we're not sure. We are at the forward edge of knowledge. Because if we read what we see, we could come to the conclusion that you're jumping to conclusions, the forward edge of knowledge. Right? We don't notice the threshold of knowledge because our brain automatically fills in the blanks. It fills in the blanks with all types of different biases and preconceived notions and assumptions based on prior experience or based on academic literature or something that has allowed us to, without even knowing, fill in the blanks. And scientific thinking teaches us that this very normal reaction that we have to fill in the blanks is something that we need to stop. It teaches us that we have to recognize the threshold of knowledge. And that's the learning edge. It's where the next experiment should take place. We tried workshops, and when we tried workshops, it didn't work out too well, but we don't know if a webinar will do better. We just know that workshops don't work. We could ask ourselves that question and create another experiment as opposed to just coming to an assumption based on prior knowledge and one experiment that tells us, you know what, based on what we've done in the past plus this one experiment that we did, we have to abandon this whole thing because we don't really have enough data. So scientific thinking coupled with practicing allows us to create a habit because models alone are not enough. When we walk into a meeting, when we walk into an initiative, when we walk into a situation, we need to ask ourselves, okay, what's the final goal here and what's the current condition? And what are the obstacles that are preventing me and preventing the team from reaching the next target condition? We could use different words for it. We could say projects and milestones, epics and sprints. But the bottom line is that we all have to learn from the projects and the initiatives that we're going through. And some people call it lessons learned. Other people go ahead and say we need to conduct other types of experiments. And when we conduct experiments, we need a model. We need some way to look at them. So we're going to plan the experiment or plan the project. We're going to do the experiment or do the project. And then we're going to sit there and check or study what we've learned. Let's check, let's validate, let's measure, let's study. PDCA or PDSA. And A is the toughest one, which is adjusting. Adjusting is always the toughest one. And it's because that everyone is going to have a voice in how we adjust, unless it's a dictatorship, right? So in a project, everyone's going to have a voice on how we adjust, PDCA. And it is how we manage those voices that allow us to transition from one experiment to the next smoothly. So that concludes chapter 1 of this class. I'll see you in chapter 2. Thank you.